Hi and welcome to another video from Valencia Photography Workshops. This tutorial is about how to focus your camera the right way. Hit subscribe for more tutorials on all things photography. Hi, I'm Stephen Power. I'm a photographer and photography teacher based on Valencia Island in County Kerry, Ireland. In this video I'm going to talk briefly about how to focus your camera. You know, that sounds fairly simple, but there are several ways to do it, and there are several ways to do it wrong. And I'm going to talk to you about what I believe is the right way to focus your camera. So we're going to talk about autofocus, manual focus, using the viewfinder to focus, and in some cases using the live view. Not all cameras have live view. This is an old Canon 1DS Mark II. It's probably 20 years old, 15 at least, but it's a wonderful camera and has a very film-like quality, so I like to use it. So with this one I can only use the viewfinder, and I started on cameras that only had viewfinders, film cameras, and I'm used to that really, so it's my preferred method. So first of all, let's talk about autofocus. So with autofocus, it's quite simple. Usually the switch for autofocus is on the lens rather than in the camera, although with some cameras it's also on the lens body. When you switch to autofocus, you'll get some focusing points inside the viewfinder, or possibly on the live view screen as well. Then you point the camera at the scene and you let those autofocus points hit part of the scene, focus and take the subject. Simple, except that's the wrong way to do it. The thing about autofocus points for me is that there are often too many of them. There can be, I don't know, in my Canon 5D3 I think there are 61 autofocus points. In this one there's about 40. I tend to take most of mine off. If you go into the menu of the camera, you'll find that you'll be able to actually turn the autofocusing points down, or maybe just select one. And that's what I do. I just use one. I have it in the middle of the viewfinder, and the way I take a photograph is to look through the viewfinder, point the camera at the subject, half press on the shutter button, and then I'll get the autofocus point light up on the screen. I keep my finger half pressed, and then I move the camera to compose the shot exactly how I want to take it. So the three-step method for that is focus, recompose, shoot. You find the subject with one focusing point. If you've got several in the viewfinder, then the important thing is to make sure that one of them is over the subject. And what is the subject? Subject is the thing that you want to be clearest, sharpest, most in focus in the scene. See that first. Look at your scene. There's a tree, there's a house, there's a person. And make sure that one of the focusing points is on them. Look at them, or it. Focus the camera, get the focusing point up on the viewfinder screen. Then change the position of the camera if you need to, while you've got your finger halfway pressed on the shutter release button. Then when everything is right, take the shot. And that's my simple way to use autofocus. I think too many people think that they can just point the camera and let the camera choose or decide where the sharpest point is. Unfortunately, what often happens is the focusing point goes past the thing that they want to be clearest, and it's often just by luck that they've got a small aperture chosen, and that subject will be in focus. If you're photographing a face, for example, the eye for a portrait is the most important point to focus on. So you make sure that one of your focusing points is right over the person's eye, if you're close enough. So the next main type of focusing is manual focus. And again, that switch is usually on the camera with an M to signify manual. And we just switch that over to turn the camera into manual focus. By slowly turning the focusing ring, you can pull the focus in or out on the background or the foreground subject. This can be very useful for still life when you're using a wide aperture to blur the background, or it can be useful in a landscape photograph where you want to focus just on one part of the scene. With live view focusing, the focusing point is controlled by a button on the camera, moving it up, down, left or right, until you find the point in the scene where you want to focus, and then take the shot. This has been a brief overview of focusing your camera with the autofocus points, and manually and in live view. There are more things to say about focusing, such as using the back button on a camera, and I'll cover that in other tutorials. The main point I'm making here is that focusing should not be left to the camera. Choose your subject, focus on it carefully. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos from Valencia Photography Workshops.